Hey second graders, we're here with science again, and you might notice that we skipped another lesson. There's a lot of lessons in this book, and we're trying to make sure that you get all of the ones that are most meaningful, because we just unfortunately don't have enough days in the school year to cover every single thing. So we're going to make sure you get all the most important lessons.
You got it.
We are on lesson 9, quick or slow, which is pages 27 and 28. We have a lot of fun videos to watch, pictures to see, and text to read about some different landscape changing events that we've mostly learned about, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think we've learned about all of them so far.
Yeah.
And we were talking, you and I were talking earlier about how do students find out answers to their questions? What are some things that they use, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're wondering, I want to learn more about one of these changes on Earth, I can make observations myself, right? I can look with my eyes and I can learn something. You could also use a book.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could watch?
Yeah, you can watch videos. There's a lot of different ways you can look at photographs. There's different ways you can collect the evidence you need to come to a conclusion. And today we're going to be trying to figure out whether these changes, volcanic eruption, flash flood, landslide, glacier valley formation, and weathering and erosion, is a quick change or a slow change. And we're going to get our evidence from either watching a video, reading text about it, and or looking at pictures.
Yeah. And our evidence is like the proof. It's the way that you prove your answer. If you say it's quick, tell me how you know.
How do you know?
So yeah, we're going to be practicing that today. You want to get started?
Yes, let's start with the volcanic eruption. So we're first going to be reading some text about volcanic eruption, and then we're going to watch a quick 30-ish second video on it. So here we see two pictures. This is eruption of Mount St. Helen, and then this is lava flow. Does it go down a little bit more to another picture, Miss Marquardt, I'm wondering? On the side. Oh, and then eruption of, Tungurawa. Can't really pronounce that very well. That's okay, yeah. So let's read about these while we look at those photographs. How about I'll read the first one and you can read the second paragraph. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. A volcano is an opening in the Earth's crust where molten rock and gases erupt or pour out. Volcanoes are found on land and under the ocean. Eruptions happen when pressure builds inside Earth. Volcanoes erupt in different ways. Some eruptions are strong and blow very, very hot lava into the air. Rock, hot gases, and ash may also be sent flying. Sometimes lava escapes through the opening in the crust as a gentle flow. In Kilauea volcano in Hawaii, slowly flows from openings in the crust. So openings in the crust, that's Earth's surface. Like in the ground, it might look like a normal ground, but the crust of the ground, the crust might split open and lava will start flowing out of it. Instead of, and that's what this looks like, okay? Instead of it erupting from the top of the volcano out of the mouth of the top of it.
All right, all volcanoes are dangerous. They can change whole landscapes in a few days, hours, or even minutes. Ooh, that sentence is so important. I'm going to read it one more time. They can change whole landscapes in a few days, hours, or even minutes.
That's quick.
Pretty quick.
It's pretty quick.
An eruption like this happened in Rome a long time ago. Mount Vesuvius erupted. Hot lava, gas, and rocks poured down the side of the mountain. It covered the nearby city of Pompeii. It took just a little more than a day. Many people in Pompeii did not escape in time. They were buried under ash and rocks.
If you don't have enough time to escape, that must be a slow thing that happens. I mean, a quick thing that happens, not slow. Not slow.
I thought you were trying to trick us. I was ready. I was ready.
Yeah. Okay, wow, that was a lot of information. Let's watch that quick video and see if that helps us gain evidence as well. All right, that was some pretty quick actions I
That
saw
was.
over there. Not slow,
Uh-uh.
definitely quick.
Definitely not slow.
Now that we have looked at pictures, read text evidence, and watched a video, we have to come to a conclusion. What is it, a quick change or a slow change?
Well, I think you just told us.
I did.
And I think the kids know. It's definitely quick.
Yes. So we're going to fill in the first box with the word quick, and then we have to provide evidence. What did we see? What did we read that helped us come to that conclusion that it is a quick change?
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember, I had to read one of those sentences twice.
Yes.
Because I wanted to make sure. So from the text, they were mentioning a volcano can happen over the course of a couple days, a few hours, sometimes even minutes.
Yeah.
So that's definitely quick. So our evidence can come from the text. So I'm going to put a T for text, and our students can do that too. Maybe I'll even put a circle around it. So T for text, and it said it can happen in days, hours, or minutes.
Yes. And always feel free to add more than what we're adding. If you wanted to add something that you saw in the video that helped you determine that, go for it. Add it to the evidence box. We are not limiting you to what we write. This is just something that you can start with and build on from there if you came up with more on your own.
Yeah. So they wanted to write a V for video.
Yeah.
And they wanted to write, I saw it happen quickly.
Yeah.
They could do that. You saw it with your own eyes and you saw it in the video. You didn't see a real one in real life. You didn't visit a volcano, but you were able to see it. All right, what's next?
Flash flood. Let's see what we have to learn about with flash flood. Okay, so we've got some photos first, and then we'll watch a quick video. All right, so we have a flooded house. You can see there's a person sitting on their couch, and there is water all the way up to their ankles inside. Looks like they're holding a wet phone book.
I was
as
just
well.
getting a phone book. They don't know what a phone book is.
Phone book is a book that has phone numbers in it that you can call people. Okay, next we have a flooded road. You can see that a part of the road. Why do I keep saying partial? I don't know, you guys. A part of the road is flooded, and part of it is not flooded. And then down here we have an entire flooded town. Almost a whole car is underwater. It's like all the way up to the top of the car.
Crazy.
That is nuts. Let's watch that video. All right, so that looked like the water rose pretty quickly. The town got flooded pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we're giving it away again. It didn't happen slowly.
Was
Did you
not
see that car just kind of like
Flowing down.
it
Yeah.
looked like a little child sailboat in a
Mhm.
river. So yeah, it definitely happens quickly.
And I feel like we should use a V for video for
Yeah.
our evidence.
Let's do it. What did you notice in the video? What did you see?
I noticed that the water was flowing quickly, and the water level was rising quickly as well. So either of those that you want to put. And then again, if you guys came up with other things that you saw, either in the video or the pictures that you want to add to the evidence box, feel free to do so.
Yeah, so they could put a P for photo if they wanted to, and say
Yeah.
that they could see someone still sitting on their couch with the water
Yeah.
rising. Didn't seem like they had a lot of time to get out. Or they could put a T for text, and they could write that floods can even last for a few days. They can happen quickly, but sometimes that flood water stays there because it keeps rising and it doesn't go away immediately. All right.
We're going to learn about a landslide next. Okay, make sure to rewind to the front of the video too, okay? If it already started, yeah. Pull it back to the front. Wow, scary stuff.
Yeah, that must have been pretty frightening for the families that had their homes that were right there at the bottom of that cliff where all the rocks were moving. So I would say, I mean, I was able to watch that with my own eyes too. It seemed like those rocks fell pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So we can write quick here again for the landslide.
Yeah, and all we had this time was a video to watch, so we could tell from the video, one of the pieces of evidence were that the side of that mountain, the rocks were crumbling and falling down quickly. There was not a slow movement at all. While you're writing that, I want to tell you guys about an experience that my family, including Mia, had this summer. Landslides can happen in many different ways. It might be a lot of mud coming down the side of a mountain after a lot of rain, but landslides can also happen as a result of earthquakes or volcanoes erupting. And this summer, my family, my husband, myself, Mia, and my other two kids, we were backpacking. We were camping with our backpacks and climbing up the mountains over near a place called Lone Pine. And it was on our last day of backpacking. We were climbing down the mountain and we experienced an earthquake. It was the biggest earthquake I've ever experienced. The trees were shaking, the ground was shaking. It was one of the most terrifying events that I've ever experienced. And it was so loud and it felt like it lasted forever. It was probably honestly like 10 seconds, but it felt like a very long time. And there were some aftershocks, and a couple hours later we were able to get down to our car. We were really lucky that we were not next to any of the mountains that had big boulders or rocks on them at the time. We were in the valley area that was open land with trees. But when we got back to our car and we were driving down the mountain, there had been massive landslides, and the road down to town was covered in big boulders, big rocks, and lots of dirt that had fallen down the mountain in a landslide during that volcano that we had experienced. And earthquake, sorry, not volcano. And we were just really just counting our blessings and feeling really lucky that we weren't doing the driving down the mountain portion when that earthquake hit.
I couldn't imagine.
Because I'm just surprised that there were not any cars underneath any of those rocks. There were so many. And so it was, you know, to have experienced a landslide and an earthquake at the same time and lived to tell the tale. We're really grateful that nothing bad happened to any of us, but it happened quick. Like in the blink of an eye, all of a sudden, all of these boulders used to be up high on a mountain, stuck to the side. We're now in the middle of the road, and all these big trucks were coming to clear it so people could get down the mountain. But
no, thank you.
Yeah, it was not fun.
Wow.
All right,
quite a story.
Hopefully you had time to finish that, and we're going to move on to figure out if Glacier Valley formation is quick or slow. Well,
why isn't she talking?
Okay.
I had been waiting for you to just start reading. I'm like, I don't know why she's not starting without me. I had to switch it over. All right, I'll go first this time. Or do you want to talk about the photos
Let's
first?
look at the photos real quick, and then we can read.
You got it.
Here we have some photos that we saw when we watched the video in yesterday's science lesson. We've got some mountains with what looks like a river, but really it's just a bunch of snow. And then over here we have a glacier valley in between. This was carved out by a glacier. And then down at the bottom, a larger valley. This probably took even longer to create. It's so big. And then at the very bottom, we have mountain glaciers. So these are just some more glaciers, big pieces of snow and ice that are sitting on the sides of mountains that are eventually going to carve valleys into them. Go ahead.
Pretty cool photos.
Yeah.
I mean, those are awesome. Yeah. All right, let's find out a little bit more through text what we can learn. Glaciers are large rivers of hard ice that slowly slide down a mountainside.
Slowly.
Glaciers are only found in places on Earth with very cold temperatures. Long ago, glaciers were all over Earth. Scientists know this by looking at the shapes of valleys and canyons. They compare the shapes to areas where glaciers still exist. It takes thousands of years for glaciers to carve out valleys in Earth.
So thousands of years is a long, slow time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Glaciers can be called the planet's most powerful natural bulldozer. Gravity and pressure move the large ice rivers very slowly down mountains. The glaciers pick up rocks and rubble. The rocks drag along the bottom of the glacier as it moves. This causes erosion. The glacier is like a gigantic piece of earth sandpaper. It scrapes and carves out earth. When the glacier moves down to a warmer point, it melts. It leaves the rocks and rubble behind. The icy melted water moves into lakes, rivers, and oceans. After many years of the ice moving, melting, and carving, a big valley is left behind. A glacier's work is done. Pretty cool.
Awesome.
So I think we can safely answer this as slow.
You bet.
And definitely from the text, we learned that it can take thousands of years to form those valleys. And feel free to add any additional evidence that you heard us read while we were reading the text, or anything that you got from looking at the photos. You can add a P and add any evidence from those. All right, let's take a look at our last one, weathering and erosion. And we've got some text with photos again. So here, let's take a look at our two photos we have. Some pretty cool looking rocks that look like they have been carved out by wind and sand hitting it for over a long period of time. And then here, both of these are wind erosion on rocks.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool. Do you want to read first this time?
Sure.
Go for it.
I'll read the first
Couple?
two there. Yeah.
Sound good.
All right. Earth's landscape changes over long periods of time. Water, wind, plants, and animals can all weather and erode land surfaces. Weathering is when rocks are broken into smaller pieces. Erosion is when those smaller pieces are moved away. Can we stop for a second?
Yes, that's important.
So two different things we're talking about. Weathering is when the rocks are broken into smaller pieces. So you have a big rock and it's broken into smaller ones. However, erosion is when those little pieces that have broken off are moved away. Maybe like in a landslide.
Yeah.
As the pieces move, they grind against the surface they are moving upon. Some of these changes occur because of water or wind. As rain falls and water flows or freezes and melts, it wears on Earth's surface. Wind that blows against rocks erodes their surfaces. A landmass breaks down bit by bit.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
It is moved or built up by the water or wind. The weathering and erosion sometimes create arches or a tall rock tower called hoodoos. Looks kind of like these guys, huh? Hoodoos can take millions of years to form. Do you remember a glacier said thousands of years? But this is saying it can take millions of years.
That's more.
That's more. That's a slower process. Whew. Many people like to view these rock formations when they visit national parks, for example. If they come back to the same place years later, they might not even notice that anything has changed. Only small clues show the effects of erosion. Well, if it's happening over millions of years, then me coming back 1 or 2 years later, I'm not going to see a big difference.
I don't think so. And you're not going to live to be 1 million.
I'm not.
Or more than 1 million.
So this is a very slow change. Very, very, very slow. And our text evidence definitely said that. It can take millions of years. So this is probably a slower process in glacier valley formation. Probably has to do with the fact that if wind is blowing and making like little pieces of rock or sand hit something, it's going to have less of an effect than a giant heavy glacier. That's going to move things a little quicker. All right, and finally, what we're going to do is take these 5 landscape changing events and try to put them in order from what happens the quickest and what happens the slowest. And I think our slow ones are going to be really easy to do.
I think
right?
so. And we just talked about that
Yeah.
a little bit. So I think we'll definitely be able to.
So if I were going to start filling this in, I'd start on the slowest end of the chart, knowing that millions of years is the slowest. So I'd probably write weathering and erosion over here at the very slowest end. And then I would probably write Glacier Valley Formation right next to it because it says that it's slow, but it can take thousands instead of millions of years. But then that leaves us with 3, and we have 3 left that are all quick. So this is something that you guys can decide. We have volcanic eruption, flash floods, and landslides. All of those things can happen really quick in an instant. So we're gonna kind of leave that up to you. We're not gonna say there's one right answer or one wrong answer, as long as you guys can differentiate between these are the quick changing things, and obviously these are very slow and they take a lot longer to happen.
Yep.
So whatever order you guys want to put the quick ones in, you use your best judgment for that, and we're gonna let you guys do that one on your own.
All right, good luck. Have fun.